Hey, this is IndigoMusic.com. I'm Rohit, and fire safety is very, very important. And of course, I've got a very special guest with me who's joining me on the call, Mr. Uday Vijayan. So tell me more about Beyond Carlton. What is it all about, and what's the aim of the organization?
Thank you so much, Rohit, for having me here. Yeah, a lot of people may not know very much about an incident that took place in 2010.
Yeah.
This was the Carlton Towers fire. Some of the old Bangaloreans may remember it. It was February 23rd, 2010, when nine Bangaloreans lost their lives in what seemed like not a raging inferno, but it was actually negligence and smoke that did them in. And I lost my son in that accident. And about a month later, I set up the entity that I currently am speaking with you on, which
Yeah.
is Beyond Carlton. As the name signifies, my purpose at that point of time was to move beyond the incident, try and make sure that fire safety gets onto the table with everybody who matters, be it policymakers, be it lawmakers, be it citizens,
Right.
who I think are the most critical in this whole game. Try and make sure that at least somebody there is holding a flag and saying, fire safety needs to be something that we all should be worried about.
Absolutely. And have you seen the difference in the past 15 years?
Yeah, I think there are a bunch of things. So beyond Carlton, just to preface what I'm just going to say, we have been working in the space of fire safety for the last 15 years. And to answer your question of have you been seeing a difference? I think, yeah, the first signs of what we're seeing is that, for example, in most of the newer let's say buildings,
Yeah.
be it commercial or apartments, one is noticing, at least just visually and visibly, that there is some effort being taken. For example, there's something known as a setback area that's needed around a building so that fire trucks can get in and get out of it with ease. Earlier, even in the Carlton Towers, that existed, but then got violated with cars and a generator and stuff like that. So the intention is to try and make sure that is always kept clear. We had, through a PIL with the support of Namma Bengaluru Foundation, actually changed the state laws, and things like the setbacks, as well as, most importantly, a clearance certificate is now mandatory across all high-rise buildings in the state of Karnataka.
Correct.
And I think that jointly we were able to change between Nama Bengaluru and us.
Yeah.
And I think that is beginning to show signs of, traction, because I now have calls from residents saying, the fire department is coming and saying they want another clearance certificate, and which is painful and cumbersome to maybe if you live in an associate or part of an association. But another way for me to look at it is, yeah, maybe that's the right way to go about doing things. If somebody's actually coming and checking your building and saying three things need to be fixed.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
So I think that's another positive trend in 15 years that one's noticed. And I think in general, people are a little more sensitive to fires.
Hmm.
Not to say that the number of fire accidents have come down,
Yeah.
but the number of incidents have come. I mean, the number of fatalities has come down as per NCR
Absolutely.
across the
And
country.
and in the most recent past, we can see a lot of electrical fires, mainly in
Yeah.
electric vehicles. There is a
Yeah.
misconception that if you see fire, just put water. When it's an
Yeah.
electrical fire, this is where I want you
Yeah.
to, share some of your tips with people who are listening in. What should one do when there's an electrical fire, or let's say their EV is on fire?
I think everyone's trying to grapple with what's the solution. But there's
Yeah.
something when you get an extinguisher, there's something known as an ABC extinguisher, which
Correct.
means it fights fires of type A, B, and C. So ideally, that's what you need to be using, not water for sure. Even if it's an electrical fire at home, forget about an EV or
Yeah.
whatever else. I mean, the traditional old, your electric stove catches fire or something like that. You still
Correct.
need to be able to use one of those.
Yeah.
And I'd urge people, all residents, to buy themselves an extinguisher, because it's your life at the end of the day and your family's life, and it doesn't cost the moon.
Yeah.
It's not so expensive to have an extinguisher. And surely, if somebody's interested and wants to be trained about how to use it, we can definitely offer support and run some training programs for their community if somebody really wants that. So, yes, nickel cadmium batteries, which is what electrical vehicles use,
Yeah.
is largely an area of big challenge coming forward, because the number of EV vehicles that will get onto the road is going to be tremendous.
Correct.
Most fire services don't have a solution or don't have let's say, a strict protocol that's already available for them. And I think they're doing it with the best of intentions, but I think the government needs to lay down some guidelines of what they need to do. So we are actually talking to a few governments trying to make sure that there's some SOPs in place
Mm.
that most of these people can actually.
What tips would you like to give for a common man? Let's say they have a home. What are some of the few things that they need to keep in mind all the time when it comes to fire safety?
So the largest fire or the largest fatalities of fires in India are from residences,
Yes.
since you mentioned home. Residential fires are actually one of the largest portion of actual deaths are happening from residential fires,
Mm.
and more often than not, they're a combination of a couple of things. One is LPG, which obviously means you've got to be extremely cautious about LPG because you can't see it, but it's actually floating above your floor, and you turn on a light and the whole place can blast out.
Yeah. Yeah.
So you got to make sure what most gas companies tell us, turn off the regulator when you're
Correct.
traveling out, or even if you step out, and make sure there are no leakages at the regulator or in the pipes or whatever else. The other bit, which we've been noticing, at least lots of friends keep calling once in a way to tell us about incidents that are happening around, diyas that we light at our puja room,
Hmm.
right? Saris catch fire there, and lots of burn victims as a result of that. So we kind of advise people saying that, listen, even not just Diwali, but even your day-to-day prayer when you do it, try and make sure it's not on the floor or not where your sari or your dupatta of your outfit can
Yeah.
actually go and touch that. And there are more and more cases we are coming to hear because we're also doing a program with Victoria Burns Hospital. That's
Okay.
something that we do with them. And we've learned a lot of cases that are coming in, not just from income levels, but it's across all categories of people who, after all of us have a prayer room or have something that we do a puja room at home. And it could happen to anyone. So that's, you got to be cautious. Tuck in your sari, tuck in your dupatta, make sure it's not floating around, which could easily get, inflamed in some way.
What would you like to tell people who are watching this and also listening to us on radio? One message to the people of Bengaluru and everywhere.
Yeah, so I mean, our reason or raison d'etre, if one had to call it that,
Yeah.
is primarily try and prevent fires, right? We're all about preventing fires, right? We're not firefighters. We can't go and fight a fire. I mean, we're citizens like you and me.
Yeah.
And, or in Hindi, beyond Carlton, aag se aage raho, you
Mm.
know?
Yeah.
So stay ahead of the fire, kind of, prevent the fire. So do your little things. If you don't know how to prevent fires, please reach out to us. We will try and help you, guide you. We've been doing it for 15 years. We work with schools, we work with various communities, and we'd love to offer it. And these are all pro bono. We don't charge a penny because even one life saved
Yeah.
is really valuable to us.
And of course, we've seen in the recent times what a fire, a small spark can do. And the biggest example is the Los Angeles fire. I mean, it just made the entire place, it was so
Yeah.
nice and then it was nothing. But yeah, I think fire safety is something that everybody need to keep in mind. I think most of the buildings, like you mentioned, are integrating a fire safety in their building while they're constructing. I think that's a good thing that's happening. It's going in a good direction. Mr. Vijayan, thank you so much for connecting and having a wonderful chat, and of course giving a lot of useful tips for people who are listening in. Once again, have a wonderful day ahead. And yeah. Is there any event that's happening to commemorate this day?
So, 23rd February is really when the accident happened.
Yes.
And every 23rd February, the government of Karnataka actually runs a fire awareness and prevention day. This
Okay.
is our request. They've been doing it for over 5 years now. Nations across the state actually go out and run programs. But we try and do our memorial, as we call it,
Yeah.
the closest Saturday to the 23rd of February, which happens to be this 22nd February. And it's happening this weekend on 22nd February at 6 p.m. at the St. Joseph's High School on Museum Road.
Okay.
So would request all citizens, if any of them are interested, to please join us. Pay your tribute to the 9 people. Plus, you'll hear a few things around fires and fire safety that someday may actually help you or someone you know in some way.
Absolutely.
So thank you. Thank you so much for having me over, and really appreciate the support we receive from Indigo.
Well, it's our
Right.
pleasure to be associated with Beyond Carlton and yourself. Thank you so much, Mr. Vijayan. And yeah, like I mentioned earlier, have a wonderful day ahead.